Hey everyone, my name is Jason Schmaltz and I'm an AMGA single pitch instructor, and today I'm going to show you 5 easy steps to becoming a rock climbing guide. I get asked by a lot of people, a lot of friends on what it takes to get into the industry, and so I want to share these 5 insights with you, and you can figure out for yourself if it's something that makes sense for you to pursue. I'm going to try to go a little bit fast over these ideas, but if you have any specific questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. And then if you live in the Southeast and want to get together for climbing and learn more, feel free to reach out again through the comments, and maybe we can get together and can learn more one-on-one. Anyway, the first step that you want to think about when becoming a rock climbing guide or becoming anything in life is why you would want to do so. So what makes you intrigued by the rock climbing guide profession? Many of the texts that I've studied and people that have mentored me have pointed to really only one main reason why you would want to be a guide, and that's that you enjoy seeing other people achieve their dreams and achieve their goals in rock climbing. When you become a guide, you have to almost put your goals as secondary to the client achieving their goals. And one way that you can figure out if you like doing this is by taking friends out climbing. For me, my own self, I took friends out on backpacking trips as a guide for like church events and things like that where I wasn't being paid. So I didn't have to worry about permit systems and things like that. And I could just take people out and see if A, I was good at leading people on trips, and then B, if I liked doing that. And I loved seeing people for the first time see a big mountain or a big canyon or do a big climb on their own, and the reward that came with that. So see if you like that aspect of climbing, taking friends out, seeing people achieve their goals, and if you do, then it may make sense for you to think more about becoming a rock climbing guide. The second thing to consider when you want to become a rock climbing guide is to know the skills required, and if you know them, or if you don't know them, how to learn them. So there's all kinds of different disciplines of rock climbing. There's bouldering, there's scrambling, there's route climbing. And mainly in the industry of rock climbing, the style that gets monetized is route climbing. So if you're a boulderer and you think you're going to be a rock climb guide bouldering, you may want to reconsider that, because I haven't seen that in my time in the industry. But most of the trips that people pay for are route climbing trips, and then specifically in those route climbing trips, almost all of them are going to involve some both sport climbing and then also trad climbing skills. So if you don't know how to trad climb or you're unfamiliar with that, but you want to become a rock climbing guide and you want to figure out if you like trad, I'd encourage you to either get with a friend who already knows how to do trad climbing, or probably a more efficient way is to just hire a guide for a day to teach you how to trad climb, teach you how to place gear, teach you how to make anchors, teach you how to climb maybe a sport route by placing both bolts and then trad gear behind that to see if you actually even like it. It's very difficult to progress as a rock climbing guide and not know how to trad climb. So that's a skill you need to acquire quickly if you want to do so. My own personal experience, when I knew I wanted to become a rock climbing guide, I hired a guide for a day to teach me trad climbing. I wasn't proficient after that day, but I was knowledgeable enough to then go practice on my own on sport routes and things like that and on the ground and build my confidence from there. So I encourage you to do that. You can check out the company I work for, Atlanta Rock Climbing Company. They offer trad courses in the Southeast if you're interested. But if you don't live around here, there's plenty of guide services around the country that can offer that. So definitely check out that skill. The third thing to consider when becoming a rock climbing guide is the rock climbing guide track in the AMGA, or American Mountain Guide Association. The AMGA is the governing body for certifying guides in both in the U.S., and it's also recognized internationally. So if you plan to work for a guide service or have any type of substantial career in guiding, you really need to work through the American Mountain Guide Association to attain your certifications. It really shows that you're serious, you're knowledgeable, and it has a standard that people can expect when they hire you, whether it's a company or a client. In the rock climbing guide track, there's 3 major milestones as you move through the track. The first milestone is completing your single pitch instructor certification, or SPI, and this is a great way to get into guiding. It's relatively non-committing from a monetary and time perspective. It took me about 6 months to complete both the course and then the exam, and really gives you a lot of great knowledge, even if you're already an established climber. A lot of great knowledge on systems, tools, and ways to guide people that ensure not just the most safe way, but the best quality of experience. And so I really encourage you to look at that SPI program if you're interested in guiding. The next level is the multi-pitch instructor certification, and this involves taking a rock guide course and then a multi-pitch instructor exam, and it's much more committing. You have to build quite a resume to get through the course and then the exam, but if you want to guide in smaller multi-pitch terrain, so 2 to 3 or maybe 2 to 4 pitches, that's a great certification to look at, and it also enables you to train single pitch instructors. So that's part of our company's goals, is to train single pitch instructors ultimately. And then the last certification and highest certification you can get is the rock guide certification. So you don't necessarily have to have a multi-pitch instructor certification to get a rock guide certification, but you do have to take the rock guide course in both cases. And then you have to take the advanced rock guide course, and then you have to take the rock guide exam. So much more committing. This would be more of a, almost lifelong goal for some people. It could take quite a while, and this is for guiding on really big stuff, 10 plus pitches of multi-pitch. And the great thing about that guide track is, in building the resume, you figure out kind of, hey, which one of these makes sense for me? So really submit to the process, even though you set a goal maybe that's further down the line. Submit to the process of the resume building, the mentorship, the coaching, all those things, and that'll help you really discover which one of those certifications is best for you, and where you live or where you want to live and where you climb. Okay. The fourth thing to consider when becoming a rock climbing guide is the monetary aspect of the career. It's very difficult at the beginning of the career to make enough money to support a lifestyle. So it's important that you have a transition plan in place with your current job or current lifestyle that will help you get through the first year or two of guiding before you build a clientele base or a resume that you can get hired by a company where you can get more regular pay. It's possible for anyone to do this. I know the reputation of guides is that they live in a van and they kind of just travel around, and there's many of them that do that. Many of my peers are young, single, no family, live in very modest conditions, and that works great. And that's a relatively simple way to approach it. For me, I have 3 children, I have a wife, and I have another kid on the way. And so the way that I have attacked the monetary aspect of it is I've built up a couple other businesses that that I can work on when I'm not guiding and receive some income from that. A third way to do it would be, if you're holding a job now, to go ahead and start working your guide stuff on the side. And that's very easy to do initially because most guide opportunities are going to be on the weekend. So you can still hold a normal 9-to-5 job as you build your certifications, build your resume, build your clientele until you're ready to make the switch. So I encourage you to think about that. Make sure you have a plan together on the money side. And then the last thing, the fifth idea to consider when becoming a rock climbing guide, is the time commitment. Okay, so initially when you are going through SPI and multi-pitch instructor certifications, you have to spend a lot of time just climbing. You have to become a very good climber. So, and I don't mean just like a good climber in the gym technically, but also a good climber in regards that you've done many of the classic routes around the country, many of the big routes around the country, because that's what people are going to pay you to be guided on. And so being familiar with those, how to guide them, how to climb them, how to make them as safe as possible, and how to help people on them, is all part of the resume building process, and that's the most fun part, but it requires a lot of time. So you'll have to be able to make time to do all that climbing. As you progress in the guide track, you won't have to climb as much because you'll become a good climber, but then you'll have to start working more. Once you've built your certifications and you can guide in multi-pitch, the demand for your time will become more, which means you'll be making more money, which will be great. But that's where the time commitment will stay consistent. It'll just be replaced from you climbing and building your skills to helping other people climb more as a guide. So make sure that you understand the time commitment there, both from whatever current job you're in, but then whatever your life plan is that you're going to. So those are the 5 things to consider when becoming a rock climbing guide. I can personally say that it's been a very rewarding experience for me. The current goal I have is a multi-pitch instructor because that's what's most appropriate in the Southeast. But I may reassess once I attain that certification and if I want to go higher than that to rock guide or not. But each person's different, each person's goals are different, none of them are wrong, and I hope this video helps you figure out what's best for you when it comes to becoming a rock climbing guide. Hey, if you like this video, please leave us a like or a subscribe to the channel, and then if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments section. Thanks, and I'll see you out at the crag.